Okay, I hope you guys are doing well and remembering to post your questions on the discussion board and take your quizzes. Also, we are now on 4.4. This is trig functions of any angle. So not just 30, 60, 90s, not just 45s. So we're going to up the ante just a little bit. It is not much harder. I hope you enjoy it. You will need a calculator, so make sure you have that in front of you and your notes are out. Okay, we're going to use the definition of trig functions of any angle. We're going to use the signs of the trig functions, like positive and negative. Reference angle, this is actually just how do you get back to the x-axis. And the reference angle to evaluate trig functions. So how do we actually use those to help us out? All right, we have any angle now. We are no longer in the unit circle. So we have to find r. And it's the same as before. X is down here. So x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So to find r, we just take the square root. So if I give you the xy coordinates, you can find the 6 trig functions from that point. All right, so now let's see if we can make that make sense. So the sine of theta will be, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So it's y over r is what the sine is, because it always deals with y. The cosine of theta is going to be equal to x over r. And the tangent of theta is going to be equal to y over x. So the value of y of the point over the radius, the value of x over the point over the radius, the value of y over x, and your inverse functions, of course. So your cosecant of theta is now r over y. Your secant of theta is now r over x, and your cotan of theta is now x over y. Okay, let's move on. Here, let's go to an example. My point is 1, negative 3. So the first thing you have to do is find the radius, step 1. Okay, and they also have to tell you what quadrant it's in so you know if it's positive or negative. So I told you quadrant 4. Well, in quadrant 4, we know that x is positive and y is negative. So this means the cosine is positive, the sine is negative, the tangent is negative. So we're going to go through here and find the radius. So we have the radius is the square root of 10. Radius is always positive because it is the distance from the origin out. So it can't be anything else. So we go here, sine would be, if you need to plug it in here, do so. So I know this is 1 because it's my x value, and this is negative 3 because it's my y value. This gives me 1, negative 3 when I plot it. So sine, negative square root of 3 over r, which is the square root of 10. And then we rationalize. Cosine, 1 over the square root of 10. Tangent, negative 3 over 1. Flip for your other 3. All right, pause and do yours. All right, you can do this either way. You can do it with absolutely no picture, or you can draw a picture to help you out. So the first thing you do have to do is find r. So we know this is x and this is y. So the x squared plus y squared square root equals r, which is the square root of 34. So this is our radius. Now we're dealing with this angle. So the sine is opposite, so negative 5 over the square root of 34. Cosine, negative 3 over the square root of 34. Tangent, negative 5 over negative 3, which is 5/3. Flip them for your other function. Oh, I wrote cotan. Cotan can be written this way or COT. And I keep forgetting that your book only uses the COT version. So when you see those, they mean the same thing. Also, you should rationalize your denominators, which I just did not take the time to do here. Okay, quadrant angles are the ones that are on the XY axis. So if I am in 90 degrees, this point right here is 0, 1. So remember, x is 0, y is 1, x is cosine, y is sine. So we know the sine is 1, the cosine is 0. Tangent is 1 divided by 0. This is not possible. Since that is not possible, it is undefined. Okay, flip. So we got 1 is 1, 1 over 0, again undefined. And this time, you're taking the 1 over 0 and flipping it so it's 0 over 1. So cotangent is just 0. Okay, find 180, pause and do yours. All right, I hope you did well. You should have put negative 1, 0 as your point because you're at 180 degrees. Remember x and y, so sine was 0 because it's y, cosine -1, tan 0, 0 divided by -1 is 0. Now when you go to the other side, this time when the 0 is in the denominator, it's undefined. So the cosecant and the cotan are undefined this time, but -1 reciprocated is still -1. All right, let's go here. Use the signs of the trig function. So I know the tangent of theta equals a -1/3. So I know tangent is negative in this quadrant, so it's negative in quadrant 2 and in quadrant 4. Now it says the cosine of theta is less than 0. No, the tan is negative here. Cosine is negative, so this means negative is another way of writing negative. So cosine is x. We know cosine is negative in 2, use a different color here, in 2 and 3. Okay, where they're both negative happens to be here, which is quadrant 2. So we know we are in quad 2 because of the signs of our given. Okay, we're given the tangent. So now if I draw in quadrant 2 and I draw my tangent right here. Okay, I draw my angle. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So from this angle, opposite is 1, 3 is adjacent. 1 is positive this time, 3 is negative. It will still give us a -1/3. We just have to be careful which order we put them in. Okay, now we square both of those. So 9 plus 1 is 10, and our hypotenuse is the square root of 10. This means the sine value, there we go, sine of theta is equal to 1 over the square root of 10. Rationalized, square root of 10 over 10. All right, now the secant is the opposite of the cosine. Maybe, there it's going to write, maybe, there it goes. The secant of theta, we know is opposite of cosine. So we know cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so this is the hypotenuse over the adjacent, and that is done. I hope you did a good job on those. And don't forget your signs either, right? All right, let's do the next one. Pause and try yours. Okay, I drew a picture just to make sure you understood. It says tan was -2/3. So tan is negative in the second and fourth quadrant. Cosine is greater than 0, so cosine is positive. Cosine is positive in the first and the fourth, so we have to be in the fourth quadrant. So when we draw our triangle in, and you always draw the angle that goes to the x-axis. It never goes to the y. So it's always, how do I get back to the axis? And on a reference angle, that's when we are dealing with. So we're going to, tangent is -2, opposite over adjacent. 2 is going down, so -2 over 3. A squared plus b squared, and we get the square root of 13. Then all you have to do is fill in your trig functions. So opposite over hypotenuse, make sure you rationalize the denominator, cosine, tangent, and their reciprocals. I hope you did a good job. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, this is what I was talking about, a reference angle. A reference angle is how you get back to the x-axis. So the x-axis is the one that is important. So how close am I to x? So if I go here, theta, I am from here to here away from x. So that's my reference angle. If I go past 180, I go back to 180 if I'm in the first one. So how do I get back to x? Is this direction, reference angle. If I'm in this quadrant, I've gone past 270, so now I'm closest to 360. So what's left between the angle and 360? All right, let's go here. Find the reference angle for 210. Well, if you draw this in, we know 210, there's 180, 210 is down in this quadrant. So your reference angle is back to 180. So I have to take the 210 minus 180, and I get a 30-degree reference angle. Okay, pause and try yours. All right, the first one was a little tricky because it was a negative angle. So the first thing I usually do is add 360 so I get to a positive angle. But I did draw it out for your negative. So if you start here, your negative angle ends up here. So how far are you away from here to here? Well, you went 180 degrees, correct? So you could do minus 180 and get a 60-degree angle here. Or you can add 360 and change this to a positive angle so it's easier to work with. So at 120, how close am I to 180? So then you take 180 minus 120 and you get a 60-degree angle. 7 pi over 4 is within a circle. It's very close to a full circle, so we take 2 pi minus 7 pi over 4, so you're right here is where you're at. You went all the way around. And when we do that, we end up with 1 pi over 4, so we got 1 pi over 4 from here to here, or 45 degree. All right, now let's look at some of these. 665 minus 360. First, we have to get this to somewhere between 0 and 360, right? So we got 305. Now, how do I get from 305 back to the circle? So we take 305, so that's 360 is closest, minus 305, and we get there is a 55-degree angle between 305 and 360, because 305 is all the way over here. Draw that in, and we have a 55-degree angle. I know that is not to scale. And that's all there is to it. Find the reference angle for 15 pi over 4. Pause and do it. All right, she had 15 pi over 4, recognizing that's not quite a full circle. So we subtract out, it's over a full circle. We subtract out 8 pi over 4. We're down to 7 pi over 4. Well, we just did 7 pi over 4. So 7 pi over 4 is 1 pi over 4 for your reference angle. I hope you did a great job. Okay, let's continue. All right here, we use reference angles to find measures of angles we don't know exactly. So I want to find the exact value of sine of 135. Well, 135, okay, I know you can know, if you know your unit circle, you know this, but we're going to pretend you don't. So you do a 180 minus 135 equals 45. So I'm doing the sine of 45. Well, the sine of 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. I know the sine of 135 is in the second quadrant, which is up here, which means the sign is positive because it deals with y. So this is the positive value. Okay, pause and do yours. Okay, so we took 600 minus 360, you got 240. 240 you recognize is over here. That's the 180, but not to the 270. You subtract out 180 to find this distance back to the x-axis, and you've got a 60-degree angle. What is the sine of 60? You should know that's the square root of 3 over 2 from your unit circle. All right, so you got to get those memorized if you don't have them done. All right, when down here on your homework, this is the homework that you need to do today. The review, you actually get a work day on that. So there's another day to do that review. All right, good luck, and I hope you do well. Remember to post your questions.